New Orleans, 1918. A city known for its vibrant music and culture became the stage for a series of horrific crimes that defied all logic. An unknown assailant broke into the homes of local grocery store owners, attacking them in their beds with their own axes. He left behind a trail of blood and a city gripped by a unique brand of terror. The killer eventually communicated with the press, issuing a bizarre demand that placed the entire population under his control. Tonight, we dissect the clinical facts of the Axeman of New Orleans, a predator who turned the soundtrack of a city into a tool of survival. Subscribe to Mind 74. If this dossier keeps you hooked, subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell. Comment below your thoughts on this mystery and share this video. May 23, 1918. The police discovered the bodies of Joseph and Catherine Maggio in their apartment above their grocery store. The killer had broken into the residence and attacked them with an axe. He left the murder weapon in the bedroom. The detectives found no sign of theft, as the money in the store remained untouched. The police identified the killer's method as a brutal, sudden assault while the victims slept. This set a pattern for the future attacks. On June 27, 1918, the Axemen targeted Louis and Anna Besumer. They survived the initial assault, but they suffered from severe head wounds. The investigators arrived at the scene and found the axe discarded in the kitchen. They could not determine a motive for the attack. The city residents began to fear the presence of a killer who could bypass locked doors. On August 5th, the killer murdered Edward Schneider, a grocer, in his home. The assailant struck him with the axe and vanished into the night. The police department received reports of a man seen running from the scene. They set up patrols to cover the French Quarter. The investigators scrutinized the business records of the victims, but they found no common enemies or disputes. The frequency of the murders increased the panic. The city's inhabitants began to keep their own axes and pistols by their bedsides. The police utilized bloodhounds to track the scent from the crime scenes, but the dogs lost the trail in the heavy rain. The investigators worked with the city's medical examiner to document the wounds. They concluded that the perpetrator used a heavy, professional-grade axe in each murder. This detail provided a profile of the killer as a person with knowledge of the tools used in the local grocery trade. The police interviewed every employee who worked at the affected stores. They kept the files of the suspects in the central office for continuous review. The task force grew as the mayor demanded a quick resolution. They focused on the movements of the transient population during the late hours of the night. The investigation took an unprecedented turn on March 13, 1919, when the Axeman mailed a letter to the local newspapers. He claimed to be a demon from the underworld who had walked the earth to punish the residents of New Orleans. He asserted that he would kill again at 12:15 a.m. on March 19th. However, he made a strange exception to his plan. He announced that he would spare any household that had a jazz band playing in full swing. He challenged the citizens to play the music at the designated hour. The letter appeared on the front page of the New Orleans Times-Picayune the following morning. The city reacted with an immediate, citywide response. Thousands of homes hosted parties to play jazz at the requested time. The streets were filled with the sound of music, and the dance halls remained open late into the night. No murders occurred on the night of March 19th. The Axeman seemingly honored his bizarre agreement with the city. This event cemented his place in the folklore of the region. The investigators analyzed the letter for any clues regarding his identity. They compared the handwriting with the records of the local business community. They could not confirm the identity of the author. The detectives interviewed the musicians who performed that night, looking for any reports of suspicious activity. They found no link to the murder. The Axeman continued his activity after the night of the jazz parties. He attacked Sarah Lawman on March 10th, shortly before his public letter. She survived and described the hooded man who entered her home. The police utilized her account to refine the description of the killer. He was tall, thin, and possessed a deliberate, quiet walk. The investigators used this information to patrol the city's residential areas. They looked for individuals who matched the description and carried heavy bags. The task force collaborated with the city's jazz clubs to gather information about potential patrons who might be responsible. They searched for anyone who made comments about the Axeman's challenge. The police maintained a constant presence in the areas where the music was loudest. The investigation into the letter writer required the detectives to think like a criminal mastermind. They identified the tone of the communication as an attempt to gain attention and social power. The detectives remained committed to the task of capturing the killer, regardless of his theatrical demands. The Axeman struck again in August 1919. He attacked Steve Boca, a grocer, while he slept in his home. Boca survived the assault but remembered very little of the encounter. On September 2nd, the killer murdered William Carson. Carson was also a grocer who resided in the city's business district. The pattern remained identical to the earlier murders. The killer entered the home, attacked the victim, and discarded the axe at the scene. The police searched for any sign of a robbery or a motive, but they found none. The Axeman moved across the city, striking in different neighborhoods to avoid being tracked. The investigators organized a massive dragnet to cover the entire city. They utilized the help of the local volunteers who patrolled the streets with lights. The police department received reports of the hooded man in the suburbs, but they arrived too late in each instance. The investigators scrutinized the background of every individual who moved through the grocery business in New Orleans. They tracked the weapon sales in every hardware store within the state. The detectives found no link to a specific buyer. The task force grew frustrated as the killer continued to evade the law. They held daily meetings to review the evidence. The investigators utilized the services of the state's forensic specialists to analyze the hair and fiber samples recovered from the bedrooms of the victims. The results provided no clear identity. The police department faced the highest level of scrutiny in its history. The mayor of New Orleans offered a reward for the capture of the Axeman. The detectives spent their nights in the basements of the grocery stores, waiting for an intruder. They hoped to catch the perpetrator in the act. The investigation became an obsession for the senior detectives of the department. They remained focused on the pattern of the attacks, believing that the killer followed a specific schedule. They monitored the dates of the murders, searching for any correlation with local events or holidays. The Axeman seemed to strike at random, defying the theories of the police. The lack of an arrest during the final spree tested the resolve of the city. The police kept the files active as they searched for the mastermind. The Axeman of New Orleans disappeared after the murder of Mike Pepitone in October 1919. The killer never attacked again, and his identity remains a complete mystery to this day. The case became a legend in the history of American true crime, inspiring songs, novels, and films that kept the story alive for over a century. The investigators archived the case files in the central database of the New Orleans Police Department. They kept the records for any future forensic research. The mystery continues to haunt the history of the city. The impact of the Axeman case on the criminal justice system was profound. It highlighted the challenges of identifying a predator in a dense, interconnected city. We honor the victims who lost their lives during the dark days of 1918 and 1919. Their stories are preserved in the historical records of the police. We documented the facts and the impact of these events for the future. The legacy of Dossier 43 is a lesson in the complexity of serial crime and the endurance of local folklore. We view the events through the lens of historical reflection. The case is long cold, but it is not forgotten. The records remain available for any future inquiry. The investigation taught the world about the need for standardized police practices and the importance of public vigilance. We honor the victims by documenting the history that arose from their tragic loss. The Axeman stands as a definitive point in the history of American serial crime. The world shifted in the aftermath of 1919. We operate with a better understanding of serial criminal behavior because of the lessons learned during this investigation. The ghost of the killer still lingers in the stories told about the dark history of the Crescent City. We documented the full sequence of the tragedy. This concludes our review of the case. The archives are open, and the story continues to unfold as we look into the past. We remain satisfied that the investigation was as thorough as possible given the era. The mystery of the Axeman is one of the most enduring stories of our time. It serves as a study in how we define criminal legends. The truth remains in the records, waiting for those who study the facts. We leave the story here for the next generation of investigators. The search for knowledge regarding the killer continues in the archives of history. The Axeman stopped his work in 1919, but his presence in the cultural record is permanent. We have documented the facts and the impact of these dark events. The legacy of Dossier 43 will remain as a reminder of the fragility of the peace we often take for granted. This concludes our review of the case. The archives are open, and the story continues to unfold as we look into the past. We remain hopeful that the final piece of the puzzle will always be understood through the facts. The investigation is a journey that has reached its destination. We hold the memory of the victims in the light of our research. The facts remain, and the record endures. Subscribe to Mind 74. If you reach the end, subscribe, leave a like, and hit the notification bell. Comment below your thoughts on this mystery, and share this video to help us grow the community.